Hello friends, my name is Olga. I'm a mature medical student from Ukraine, and I want to tell you about what happens with my house now in Kiev region, what happens in Kiev, what news I got from my relatives, from my friends, because I left my house after 3 weeks of war, and of course I'm worried about about my motherland, what happens with my house, with my property, and what is the life now in Kiev, because the Russians, they pulled out their army from the Kiev region, and maybe there's something changed. It is very important for me, so I want to share this information I got with you. First of all, the Kiev region, that street where is my house, we have quite short street and not much houses, not much neighbors. But after 1 week of war, the first neighbors, they moved out because I saw no more, at least candle, small lighting in the house. In the wartime, there was warning that people shouldn't turn on the light, and they should use some a little small the sources of lighting, very tiny. Do not illuminate the rooms much. Do not show the Russian drones where is a lot of houses. After 1 week, I saw that one neighbors, they do not have anymore any lighting, and the house is empty. No one stayed there. Then I got news that the other neighbors, they moved out. Before that, I talked to them, and they said to me that actually they will stay, they do not move anywhere. And after that, I got news that this woman left her husband with cats and dogs and moved to Germany, and husband refused to move everywhere and stay with the cats and dogs. And then he has had a problem with food for them, because food was no food even for people. But anyway, other neighbors, they moved to Romania, and other neighbors to also somewhere to Western Ukraine. But anyway, they stayed two families, quite young families. For some reason, some of them, they just do not have any other place where to live. They just have only this house on the street, and they maybe do not have any relatives outside, So they stayed, but they were very, very quiet. And another neighbors near me, they also stayed, and they said a week ago the missile in the sky was destroyed by anti-missile system, and it was very close to our house, and it was night, and they slept. Now it's like more quiet because no Russians on the Kiev region anymore, and they a little bit now relaxed. They do not hide in the shelters underground, so they slept in their bed normally. And then they saw at the middle of the night, they saw the huge light in the sky through the windows. It was like red, round, orange, green, different colors, and explosions very somewhere near them. They scared so much and run with kids very fast underground. It was a missile that exploded in the sky because the anti-missile system destroyed that. It was huge explosions. They thought it was under our houses, because these neighbors are next to me. They live near, but it was not that close. So it is quite scary there. What is with food? What is the question of food? I had problems when the war started. Was no food. People, they bought all food from the stores, from the shelves, and when I came to stores, there was empty shelves, and I was kind of starving because of that. but now is food on the shelves. It is much more better, and some this question, this food delivery and production is restored. But the problem is in Kiev region and Kiev, food become very expensive because of the war, because to produce it very harder than before, because not much, some, I don't know what usually to use to cook some food, some ingredients, maybe now something else is quite expensive and hard to get. So food now it's quite become quite expensive, much more expensive than before war. And what about the our salaries, about our jobs? I mean that of Ukrainians, of Kievites, the actually people who work in state enterprises, they receive salary, but a lot of them receive not full salary. It could be less on 15% than before war, or 30% than before war. So mostly the salaries of Kievites, and even not Kievites but other Ukrainians, they decreased, and the prices on food become very high. So far, Zelensky said that will be no any how to say, additional expenses on electricity, on gas, on that fees of accommodation, because he don't want to make people overpay, because he understands that it is war and people should have no money mostly. So now only problems with food, with the prices, and other things that may be very soon, I think maybe at the end of this year and the next year, that the enterprises, they state enterprises, private enterprises, the owners, they will have not much money for salary for the people, for whole workers. So I think that the much of workers will be quitted, so a lot of people will lose a job, especially in the medical field. As I told you, it is very important for me to know what happens in medicine now in Ukraine, and what has happened that the hospitals, they're empty, no patients, no people that come for for curement, for treatment. Because a lot of people, they just moved out from Kiev and they still do not return. So the Russian army left Kiev not this week but a few weeks ago, and the life there still do not restored, still not that was before. The doctors, they do not work every day as before war. For example, surgical specialties in Ukraine, in Kiev, these doctors, they have the full day from the 8 or 9 o'clock till, for example, 5 or 4 o'clock, and this normal working day, and usually they have 2 or 3 so-called the 24 hours work when they stay after work, like on duty, and they at night also in hospital to wait where if some ambulance will deliver them some patients, I don't know. So now it is this kind of work changed. The doctors, they mostly do not attend their work every day. They just have this 24 hours work, like on duty, but it's not often. It's couple times per, I don't know, maybe per month or per week. But anyway, now not much patient. The hospitals are empty, and people, and for example, I was with a girl whose parents stayed in Kiev. She moved out from Ukraine, and she said that doctors have no possibility to move out because in the wartime doctors should stay on their working places, and if there will be necessity to help some wounded people, soldiers, doctors have no right to leave the country, to leave their hospital, and they will have problems with law if they leave the country. Of course, they will lose their job. So a lot of people, they're afraid of it, doctors, and so everyone, doctors, they do not left the Kiev during this war. And now they also stayed there, but the hospitals are empty, and they said that it's very, not very, but some kind of scare there when these huge corridors, huge buildings, they empty. At night, when doctors stay on duty, it is very not pleasant to be, alone in the hospital with couple patients. And actually, in the military times, it's more scary, more unsafe feelings. So that is the problem, and also, as I told you, that could be such a thing that because of lack of the people, lack of the money for salary, and we do not need now like such a quantity of hospital, of doctors, of nurses, of everyone who work in the hospital. So a lot of people, I expect, and other medical medics, they expect that they could lose the job because of such events, and it is not that good situation, of course. And if, for example, people like me, I also had a job as a scientist, and I also evacuated, so I do not attend my job now. And first months of war I got some salary, but then they asked me to write the document that I will be in vacation on this period of war in Ukraine, but without the salary. So this vacation will be not, I will not receive anything for that. And I think a lot of people who have right to leave the country, who do not have such obligations like doctors, because I'm still not a doctor, so we can leave the country, and but such a thing like we can leave the country without then do not receive salary or other options, but anyway, people, they kind of lose their possibility to get some means for living. It is very good for people, not good, but better for people who have some distant job. For example, our university and other universities, they have remote study. So the lecturers, teachers of school, they work remotely. So for them, if they will stay in other country, it's not a problem if there is internet. So they could continue working from every country, any city of the world. So for them it's not bad. But anyway, I heard that teachers and lecturers, they also warned that they will not receive full salary, they will receive on 30% less. Just a little bit also kind of not pleasant, because if you, for example, move to some more expensive country, because Ukraine before war was very cheap country, we do not our for example food was cheap and everything was cheaper, and if you move to some country where everything expensive and you still receive some salary and it is low, and even lower on 30%, it could be not enough for people. So it is like that. But let's talk also about the infrastructure, about transport in Kiev. So it's not much better than it was before. It was in the times when Russians was on the edge of the Kiev and tried to capture Kiev and killed people in the Bucha, Hostomel, Irpin, Vorzel, and other small towns near Kiev. That times we had no working, how to say, social transport. There's trolleybus, buses, different underground trains, and it is still didn't restore. Some of buses they started to work, but it's not enough, and actually people they mostly have problems how to get to the job. The problems who have cars also they have problems, because when the war began was a problem with fuel. Was no fuel on the how to say, the station where cars can get fuel, and they started to give 20 liters per one car, and now then the situation became a little bit better, but now it is even worse. And people they receive, if you drive and you need the fuel, you go to the station to buy more. By the law now they can give you only 10 liters per one car, and it is disaster. For example, my car, she eats a lot of fuel, and for me 10 liters it is it will be enough, but it's like quite kind of not that good. Not I would buy more, but it is forbidden, and huge queues on the way to get fuel again, and there's some stations closed. So it's problems for people to get to job by car, by some social transport. And so it is really problem. Maybe it is better for people who have electro car or scooter on the electricity, if they have the electricity, because some of villages in Kiev region still have no electricity after military actions. But it is a problem. Underground station work in Kiev also not regularly, not as it was before. In Kiev, every few minutes the trains come and you can use it was one of the best kind of transport to get somewhere, because you will always count the time. There will be no delays. You will always know how much time you will spend in the road, and every few minutes the trains they come, and you may sit and move to that point you need. But now the problems with the train, not much of them working, and I'm thinking that the drivers of the trains and the staff of the underground station and the drivers, actually they also maybe have this threat to lose their job, because less need to carry them, to deliver them. So it is also could be very bad situation for them. So now it's still problems with banks, with bankomats, with terminals, with how to get the money. It's not simple. It's better than it was in the times where Russians was near Kiev a few weeks ago, but now it's still do not restored. I heard the news that couple weeks when the soldiers move out from Kiev, a lot of Kievites took their car and was on the way to Kiev, and a lot of people returned. And I thought that the life there become better. The life now is the same, almost the same that it was before the war. It was my expectations, but after the talks with my relatives, with friends, I understand that in Kiev region still we have huge problems. I think that because a lot of Ukraine budget is spent now on the war, so they just do not have time and means much to think about the comfortable life in Kiev as it was before war. So it is like that. It is my news. I want to share it with you. But anyway, additionally, I want to tell you some also news about Kiev, about underground station. In Kiev, we before was a couple times some underground names of some underground station, they were changed. When I was not teenager, but on maybe closer to the first year of higher education, my higher education, first of all was changed some the name of nowadays station, the Palac Ukraina. Before it was Червоноармійська. It's like can be translated like a station of Red Army, and it was too communistic name, and it was changed to Palac Ukraina. Also, then they changed the name of Республіканський stadion, the stadium of Republika, and it was changed to station Олімпійська, the station of Olympic or something. So then there was some changed, but after this war, now also some new wish, new intentions to change some stations that also remind about some communistic path, or remind people about some Russia, or don't know. And people they voted till the 1st of May, and they even do not voted, but they may proposed before their own names of some 5 stations. And then there was voting, and people voted for that names that other citizen proposed, and they choose some names. So I want to tell you about these names. Wait a second. Yes, it is the 5 stations. It is Beresteiska station. It should be after the government received the results of the voting. The Beresteiska should be renamed to Buchanska. It's in the honor of Bucha, that very suffered town from Russian invasion. Now the Lva Tolstoy Square, Площа Lva Tolstoy, will be renamed into the name of Площа Василя Стуса. Vasil Stus is the writer in the USSR times. He wanted to see Ukraine independent, and he was murdered by Russians. He was imprisoned and sent into Russian East, and there he died because of illness, because of bad attitude, and maybe he was murdered, no one knows. But it is remarkable that the advocate of Vasil Stus, it is nowadays the friend of Putin, and the Medvedchuk. Maybe you heard this name, this last name. and he tried to protect the Vasil Stus, but his protection was, like not a protection, it was opposite. And a lot of people say that it was his fault that Vasil Stus was, that he died. And now, this 10 years, the Medvedchuk became the very rich person, and actually he was the closest Ukrainian person to Putin. He was very good friend of Putin, and his role was to help Putin capture Ukraine. So now he was, that Medvedchuk, he tried to wear the military Ukrainian uniform and hide somewhere, I don't know, in the village, because our police watch and search for him, and not much time ago he was captured, and now he will be also imprisoned. So the Vasil Stus, it's very important writer and important person for Ukrainians now, because because we are captured that his so-called protector Medvedchuk, and he was connected with Putin. Then third station will be renamed in Kiev. It will be the station Heroev Dnipra. It is the station that ends of some line, so the last station on the, I guess, red line, I don't remember some of the lines, and it will be renamed to Heroes of Ukraine, because Heroev Dnipra, it's like Heroes of Dnieper, and it is connected with the Second World War, when the Russian and USSR soldiers tried to cross the Dnieper River, and a lot of them died. And now it will be the Heroes of Ukraine, because we have the similar situation now. The station Minska, named into the honor of Minsk. It is the capital of Belarus. Belarus also a participant of this war, so people do not want to have this name of the station, and they voted for to rename the station to Warszawska, because Poland helped, maybe Poland, the country who helps Ukraine much more than other countries around. So if we're taking the neighbors, I guess it's right to call this station now Warszawska instead of Minska, because Minsk, it's like a capital of actually enemy, not named enemy. And the last station, fifth station, should be renamed. It is Druzhba Narodev. Druzhba Narodev, it is like also communistic expression, and it was connected with the friendship of nation. It sounds good, but it means the not that good things, because Druzhba Narodev, this expression was connected to assimilation on different USSR republic, and to Russificate them, and all was that named like we are French, we have the friendship of nation, but that friendship was on the that Russia is main, Russian language is better, so other nations, they should Russificate, and but not on the contrary. So it was a very strange friendship, where someone is better than one friend is more important and better than another. So people do not want to use that name of the station, and it will be renamed to the Botanichna, because we have the botanic garden. So it will be renamed soon, after some also how to say, historical and linguistic experts will check this station, and maybe the name will be not the same as I told you, but very close to that. From the very interesting other position that was on voting and didn't win, It's instead of Warszawska also was proposition to call the station Buchanska, Mariupolska, or Stepana Banderi, or do not change the name and stay Beresteyska. The station of Ploshchad Lva Tolstoy was proposed few other Ukrainian writers, and for station the Heroes of Dnieper also was other positions they didn't win, like Heroes of Mariupol, the Heroes of Dnieper, it's like to do not change, Heroes of Ukraine, and the northern station, and the station of Vyshgorod. Vyshgorod is also a town that was that suffered from the Russians now. The Minsk station also was proposed these names: Mariupolska, Vyshgorodska, Buchanska, and Warszawska Von. The Druzhby Narodov station was the other options, the other names, the Heroes also of Mariupol, the Zverenetska, the Unity of Ukraine, the European station, and Botanic station that this name won. Also, I heard such funny names people proposed, but they didn't get enough percentage in voting. It's like someone proposed to call some station in the name of Master Yoda, in the name of Palanitza. It is very funny because this expression, this word was very important in Ukraine. Palanitza, it means bread baked, not just the bread, but this the one bread, you know, and it is very funny because Russians, they cannot pronounce properly this word. They also they have, you know, different language, different rules. They do not used to say Palanitza, they usually say Palanitza or something, and they cannot say Palanitza at the end. So, and actually they do not know what this word means, because this word is kind of old-fashioned and only Ukrainians know that, because in Ukraine no one say Palanitza now. It is word from literature, from you know, some old expressions, and if Russians even understand Ukrainian language, they do not know what means Palanitza and other old-fashioned, not modern words, and they do not pronounce it correctly. So Palanitza, it was like a Czech word for to know if you're Ukrainian or Russian, because a lot of Ukrainians also use Russian language. So if you want to distinguish, you ask what is Palanitza and can you pronounce it correctly. And it is very funny because we have another word that sounds similar. It is Polunitsa. Polunitsa, it means strawberry. And a lot of Russians, they say that Palanitza, it is strawberry, because they do not distinguish. It is funny, they really do not distinguish this sound, these words Palanitza and Polunitsa. For them it is the same, but actually it's completely different words. So it is become very during this war, this word Palanitza became very important word. So even people wanted to propose to change the name of substation to Palanitza. It is very interesting, and I know that Ukrainians never lost their sense of humor. So it is the maybe whole news for today about Kyiv region, my region, which is very important for me. And unfortunately, as you understand, it still do not restored. I mean, something was cleaned on the streets. something was a little bit repaired. But anyway, still lack of transport, lack of possibilities, lack of fuel, the possibility to lose the job, not much job, too expensive products, too expensive food. A lot of difficulties now in Kiev and in Kyiv region, and a lot of people, they still do not return there. So it is not happy news, but it is the reality, it is what we have for today. I hope this video was useful for you, interesting, you got some news from me, and thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.